Travel to the convent of St. Gildard in Nevers, France. Walk into the chapel and approach the glass coffin at the altar. Inside, you will see a beautiful young woman. Her hands are crossed over a rosary. Her skin is smooth and pale. Her eyes are closed as if she is in a deep, peaceful sleep. She looks like she could wake up at any moment, but she won't. This is Saint Bernadette Soubirous, the visionary of Lourdes. She died in 1879, over 140 years ago. Biologically, she should be dust. The laws of nature dictate that the moment the heart stops, the process of putrefaction begins. Bacteria break down cells, tissues liquefy, and within months or years, only bone remains. But Bernadette is part of a mysterious and controversial group of Catholic saints known as the Incorruptibles. There are hundreds of them across Europe. Saints who, centuries after their death, allegedly defy the laws of biology. Some are said to remain flexible. Some reportedly bleed fresh blood long. After death, others are said to emit a sweet, floral scent known as the odor of sanctity, rather than the smell of decay. For the faithful, these bodies are undeniable. Physical miracles, proof that holiness has the power to conquer even the corruption of the grave. But for skeptics and scientists, they are a puzzle to be solved. Are these bodies naturally preserved by freak environmental accidents? Are they mummies? Or, more darkly, are they elaborate, pious frauds? Waxworks and taxidermy designed to fool the pilgrims. Today, we are opening the glass coffins. We are going to examine the biology, the theology, and the touch-ups behind the mystery. Are the Incorruptibles a miracle or a manufacturing process? To understand why the Church cares so much about rotting corpses, we have to understand the theology of original sin. In traditional Christian theology, bodily decay is not just biology, it is a punishment. In Genesis, after the fall, God tells Adam, "For dust you are, and to dust you shall return." Rotting is the physical consequence of sin. Therefore, the logic goes, if a person is extremely holy, if they are a saint who completely rejected sin and filled themselves with the grace of God, then perhaps, just perhaps, they should be exempt from the penalty of sin. Psalm 16:10 is the proof text, "For you will not abandon my soul to Sheol, or let your Holy One see corruption." For the Catholic Church, an incorruptible body is a sign of the resurrection. It is a preview of the end times, when all believers will get their bodies back, perfect and undying. A saint who doesn't rot is a postcard from the resurrection, a sign that they have already achieved a level of union with God that breaks the laws of nature. This isn't just a fringe idea. For centuries, incorruptibility was often a requirement, or at least a fast-track ticket for canonization, becoming a saint. If you dug up a monk and he was a skeleton, he was a good guy. If you dug him up and he looked like he was napping, he was a saint. But when you actually look at the Incorruptibles, you realize they aren't all the same. They fall into three distinct categories. Category 1. The accidental mummies. Natural preservation science tells us that under the right conditions, bodies don't rot. Desiccation. If a body is buried in hot, dry sand or a dry crypt with a draft, it dries out. It becomes a leather-like mummy. Saponification. This is the weird one. If a body is buried in cold, damp, alkaline soil with no oxygen, the body fat can turn into a soapy, waxy substance called adipocere grave wax. This creates a hard shell that preserves the shape of the body perfectly. Many Incorruptibles are likely just natural mummies. Saint Catherine of Bologna, died 1463, sits upright on a throne in Italy. She hasn't decayed, but she is black, dried out, and mummified. It's impressive, but it's explainable by the environment of her tomb. Category 2. The partially incorrupt sometimes. Only parts of the saint survive. Saint Anthony of Padua. When he was exhumed, his body was dust, but his tongue, the instrument of his preaching, was famously found fresh and red. Saint Clare of Assisi. Her skeleton remains, but it is encased in a wax figure. Category 3. The true mysteries. These are the ones that stump the scientists. Bodies that were buried in damp ground, with no embalming. Found years later, moist, flexible, and lifelike. Saint Charbel Makloff of Lebanon reportedly exuded liters of a strange, blood-like fluid for decades after his death, even after being dried out multiple times. But then there is the category that makes people uncomfortable, the retouched. Let's go back to Saint Bernadette, the Sleeping Beauty of Nevers. She is the most famous example. She looks perfect, but if you read the fine print in the doctor's reports from her exhumations, a different story emerges. In 1909, the doctors noted she was incredibly well preserved. Her skin was intact. She didn't smell. This was remarkable after 30 years in a damp grave. However, they also noted that her face was blackish and shrunken. Her eyes had sunken in. Her nose was dilated. She looked dead. By the third exhumation in 1925, the skin was discoloring and mummifying. The church wanted to put her on display in a glass coffin, but a black, shrunken face might scare the pilgrims. So, they hired a firm in Paris to create a thin wax mask. The beautiful face you see today, it is wax. The hands, wax coatings. The real Bernadette is underneath. And while her preservation is scientifically surprisingly good, she isn't a skeleton. She does not look like the Sleeping Beauty in the glass case. Does this count as a lie? The church argues no. They are open about the masks if you ask. They argue the mask is just a cosmetic necessity to honor the saint's memory. Like putting makeup on a body at a funeral viewing. But critics argue that for millions of pilgrims who don't know about the mask, it functions as a visual deception. It creates a belief in a miracle based on a piece of art. Because of cases like Bernadette, the Vatican has fundamentally changed its rules. In the Middle Ages, incorruptibility was a miracle proof. Today, the Vatican rarely uses it as a cause for canonization. Why? Because science has gotten too good at explaining it. When the church investigates a body now, they bring in pathologists, chemists, and radiologists. They check for embalming. Many miraculous saints turned out to have been secretly embalmed by monks who wanted to help the miracle along. They checked the air quality and soil composition to rule out natural preservation. The bar for a miracle is now impossibly high. As a result, the church has largely stopped claiming that preserved bodies are supernatural. They now refer to them as relics or signs, but they focus on the saint's life, not their corpse. A famous example is Pope John XXIII. When he was displayed in a glass coffin in the Vatican, his face looked perfect. People shouted, "Miracle." The Vatican quickly issued a statement. No, it's not a miracle. It's excellent embalming and a vacuum-sealed coffin. They proactively debunked their own miracle to avoid a scandal later. So, why do we still care? Why do millions still line up to see these bodies? On one side, the skeptical view, are the Incorruptibles a remnant of a morbid, pre-scientific past? Are they just mummies dressed in silk, aided by wax masks and secret embalming, used by the church to sell hope to people afraid of death? Is it holy taxidermy? On the other side, the faithful view, or is there something undeniable here? Even if we account for the wax masks and the dry crypts, there are cases like Saint Charbel that defy explanation. And even for the ones like Bernadette, believers argue, okay, maybe she isn't perfect. But why didn't she rot at all in a damp grave? They see the preservation, if partial, as a divine wink, a signal that this person was different, that they were a vessel of something that death couldn't quite digest. Is the incorruptible body a biological anomaly or a spiritual promise? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this mystery of the grave in the comments below. If you found this deep dive into the hidden history of saints and science fascinating, please hit that like button and subscribe for more content that uncovers the real stories behind our beliefs. Thanks for watching.